struggling with what you just spoke about, people telling I couldn't speak about the soft skills and I had to be, like do it this typical traditional way. It's been almost like a chronic illness, of beliefs that I'm having to work through. And
wow.
All that stuff, where cancer, it was easy because I didn't have any background around that. I didn't even have a lot of exposure of going into hospitals and things because I've been really healthy.
Retreat and Grow Rich, the podcast. I'm Darla LeDoux, best-selling author, coach, and retreat leader, and I'm on a mission to normalize transformation on the planet, one intimate retreat at a time. This show is dedicated to the coaches, consultants, healers, leaders, and light workers who are here to hold space for the truth that transforms lives and get paid for it. Expert retreat and business tips, strategies, stories, and magic. It's your weekly mini retreat delivered right to your ears. Let's do this. Hello and welcome to Retreat and Grow Rich, the podcast. I am here with the beautiful, fabulous Marlo Nikkila. And we are going to be talking about energy and how to keep your energy clear when you host retreats, but in life in general. Marlo is, first of all, absolutely fabulous. I know her heart, I know her spirit, and I know her commitment in the world. And I've watched her continue to step into that commitment. So I just want to let you know, if you're listening, first of all, take a deep breath. You are in good hands. You are in healing hands. And we're going to go on a journey together today. Mm-hmm. She teaches healers how to be peaceful, clear, and magical by gently releasing emotions that are stuck and opening their hearts and minds to what's possible for themselves and those they serve. She's the creator of the Peaceful Magic Planner and hosts Peaceful Magic retreats for healers at her own sanctuary in her home with her hubby, Dwayne. Mm-hmm. So I have had the pleasure of knowing both Marlo and Dwayne and watching this journey unfold to where you guys, you just bought this house with this vision. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And you've made a lot of moves in your life because you just got the vision or the hit and made, followed the God breadcrumbs, so to speak, and made the change. So I think let's start there with that decision to say, you know what, I'm feeling called to lead retreats. I'm just going to go for it. We're going to buy this space. We're going to create it in the magic that we see possible and go for it. What's I haven't caught up since it's all been complete. So,
gosh, it was a couple of years ago. Dwayne retired from the military, and we moved to Portland because that was really pulling us. And after, I just had this sense that I really wanted space and to do retreats with people. And we were living in a co-housing community at the time, so I thought, oh, I could do this because there's guest rooms there. And then I realized that that's not the energy that I wanted to immerse myself in. There's just too many other energies happening. And, so I started looking at different properties and things. And Dwayne, it took a while. He calls himself the big bus. I'm the sports car. So it took him a while to come on board. But when he realized what he really wanted to do was take care of the land and do just kind of be in the background and really taking care and holding, being that beautiful container for people, then this property showed up and we said yes. And it's kind of morphed because at first Dwayne needed it to be a bed and breakfast, and I knew that that's not the energy I wanted with the revolving door. So I had to be really clear and firm in my knowing that this is a retreat space. And then most recently, I made the decision to have it be for my retreats only, which was a really big moment of clear commitment to what I'm doing here, because we were letting other people using our space, which was great. And I loved doing that too, but it was just no, I'm here to do my stuff and just has been amazing. And just with him and our partnership and what we've kind of had to move through. I mean, you witnessed a lot of that because we were at the very beginning stages when we started working with you. So yeah, it's been an amazing journey and I just love it so much.
I am imagining a lot of people can relate to having the partner who's the bus and them being the sports car. So I think we'll circle back to that because that feels really juicy for people.
Yeah.
I think it's really interesting, you know, that he wanted it to be a bed and breakfast. And I'm assuming that's a financial
it's
commitment, right?
Really from fear.
Like how many people can we move through here as quickly as possible? Yeah. And then even that decision to say, no, it's not open to just anybody. And now moving to, it's only open for me and my people. There's a lot of faith in that. And I think that those decisions likely really connect to the topic today about mastering your energy. So you can hold this sacred space. So can you talk a little bit about the decisions to focus like that?
Yeah. I mean, it was a really recent one because it was such a glaring thing. So I had been opening up, meeting other healers in town.
Well, it was recent to move to just yours, but you knew at the beginning, like this is a retreat space, right? This is sacred space.
Yeah. You know, for me, it was just a knowing and I just had to like honor that knowing. Like it actually wasn't, it didn't feel like a choice to me. Like when we, like I kind of acquiesced to like, okay, I'm willing to explore the bed and breakfast, but we're not getting queen beds. We're getting twin beds. You know, like I knew very clear, like this is moving into a retreat space, but I was trying to also allow Dwayne to move through whatever he needed to like get to that comfort of knowing where I was. And so very quickly after that, Dwayne's like, yeah, I don't want a bed and breakfast. Like he came to that on his own with me just being so firm and clear that this is what I'm doing. And this is the energy I'm holding space for. So it felt like I was more of a, what's the word? It's not coming to me, but just like, that's what I'm here to do is hold that.
Like you had this clear vision that you're holding and it sounds like trusting that because it's so clear and certain that he would get on board.
Right. Yeah. And it kind of flipped recently in the sense that I was still open to other people doing their things here. And he was asking like all details about how much I would charge for me spending the night, somebody who wanted food, what was the day use. And it just made me realize I don't want to have those conversations. Like, I don't want to know that. And, so I was talking to Dwayne about it and he actually said, Marlo, what are you doing? I thought we were done with this. I thought we were only going to do your stuff. And I realized it was my own fear of like, well, what if it doesn't work out? What if my retreats don't continue to take off like they have been? And then he was like, then we'll move and sell the house. Like, that's not our plan B. I was like, oh, thank you for coming around and holding that so firmly for me. So,
yay, I love that.
It was beautiful.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So talk a little bit about, you know, I know you've done energy medicine yoga, you teach that, like you've been, as long as I've known you, cultivating your personal energy as something that's the most important thing. And this interview is part of a series about what I call rich entrepreneurs, the right-brained, intuitive, connected, and heart-centered, or those soft skills. And, you know, I wrote Retreat and Grow Rich with the nod to Think and Grow Rich, right? Knowing that people who understand that it's about mindset first will get that reference. But Rich has evolved into this acronym because to be truly connected and trusting your soft skills in the world and that those have value, to me, that changes the conversation on the planet. So I know that you market energy. And, you know, a lot of people come to me and they say, well, you know, they've had 18 coaches tell them, you can't sell transformation. You know, people don't want to pay for that, which to me is very old school thinking. And we're in this rich revolution, this time when we're changing to really valuing what's true for us, as opposed to, you know, the things that we've just traditionally valued, right? Like taking it out of hand, like, oh, you can't sell transformation.
Yeah.
So I know for me, that's what I pay the most for always. So how has it been for you mastering your own energy and really creating that in your space? And then, you know, what's been your experience with marketing that?
Oh, so many great questions. So with my own practice, I feel like I needed to be very intentional about where I lived. So that's one reason we chose to live in a smaller community in nature and just being immersed and surrounded by that and just slowing my life down. And so that was really important. And what's been great about the energy medicine yoga practice that I have is that it's allowed me to notice that all the emotions that I have are just energy, and to let them kind of have space to move. And because it wants to move, energy wants to move. So for so long, I was very stagnant and not moving energy. So it just gives me in this practice of doing that for myself. And I know with I guess a year and a half ago, I was diagnosed with breast cancer. And that was like where I actually got to see that practice of deep surrender, deep trust, and just knowing that I get to choose how I'm going to experience whatever I'm experiencing. And I got to really spend time with, what am I resisting here? And Western medicine was one of the things I was resisting. But once I could soften and surrender and be in harmony with that, then I was able to like heal in a really fast and potent way. I mean, my experience was 4 months and I was done. And I just had amazing people. And so for me, it's been about like now leaning into, what am I resisting? When fear or whatever wants to show up, I let it show up. Like I'm not resisting even those emotions or energies.
Yeah.
And for me, like with the whole marketing, I had to like take how I experienced cancer, which was in a very peaceful, magical way. And I actually really, as hard as it was, I really enjoyed that journey. Like it was really significant and actually quite easy, which is kind of surprising to say around the C word.
Yeah.
But I wasn't even resisting cancer. Like I didn't even resist the C word. And I also in that moment made the commitment to never make a decision out of fear, and just to really spend time with whatever I was doing so I could have that clean, conscious choice. And I know in rereading your book, you even have an activity in there to help people get to that conscious choice. So reading it, I'm like, oh, I did that. But, and it was just so clean and so clear. And so now I know what that feels like. And that's kind of what I spend time doing. And so business has been Western medicine for me for years. Like I was resisting the way of being in business. And so I'm actually been practicing, how did I go through cancer, and how can I actually do that in my business?
Do business like cancer.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and really business for me, because I've been doing it for so long, struggling with what you just spoke about, people telling I couldn't speak about the soft skills and I had to be, like do it this typical traditional way. It's been almost like a chronic illness, of beliefs that I'm having to work through. And all that stuff, where cancer, it was easy because I didn't have any background around that. I didn't even have a lot of exposure of going into hospitals and things because I've been really healthy. So I didn't go in with a lot of stuff. So I could actually be in my own energy a lot easier.
And so you had less preconceived notions about cancer than you did about business.
Yes.
So cancer was easier than marketing.
Yes. I know. Isn't that crazy?
Wow.
But so I've had to really unlearn a lot.
Marlo, talk a little bit about non-resistance in this journey. and what was it like for you? And we'll come back to the business part, but
Mm-hmm.
what was it like for you getting that diagnosis, and what was your process to getting to non-resistance?
Well, thankfully, I had this practice of deep peacefulness and being.
Yes.
And that's also, we were having a fire really near our home. So I had just finished a retreat. So talk about each retreat offering a transformation for the retreat leaders. Like I get that every time. And thankfully, I was in that space of like just deep gratitude and amazing energy, knowing that the fire is coming towards our house and we may even lose our home. And then a week later, getting diagnosed with breast cancer, I was able to like just be more present with it all. So I think that's a big piece of it.
Because you were already very present.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And filled up, it's like, if that was the only retreat I ever did, like I felt like it was enough because of what people got from it. And so it was just like, I'm okay. And what
was the power in that, like in the midst of all of that, having that happen?
In what part?
Just having it fill up.
And
when you've got all this going on.
The retreat filling up
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it was a small retreat, but I was energetically full from the retreat is what I was.
Gotcha. I gotcha.
Yeah. So it was, the retreat, fire, breast cancer. and thankfully I feel like the retreat.
I gotcha. So had you not been so filled up,
Mm-hmm.
you might have experienced it differently.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like it kind of extended the container for me.
Yes.
To be in that. And
I find that to always be divine,
mm-hmm.
like the timing of things to always be divine, like spirit filled you up so that you could move through this to get that deeper knowing of your mission and your purpose. That's what I hear.
Yes.
Is that how it feels to you in retrospect?
Yeah, absolutely. Like it got me to a place where it's like, oh, I can experience this like fear and this even shame, as a healer and a vegan and doing all the things that you should be doing so you don't get cancer. And here I have breast cancer. I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't want to tell anybody because what are they going to think? And then the message I got clearly was like, this is the time to let people in and receive in a way you've never received before. And
I don't want to tell anybody because what will they think?
Yeah.
Yes. How often does that come up for your clients? Like transformation is messy.
Yeah.
Right? It doesn't come, I mean, sometimes it's, sweet and beautiful, but a lot of times it's messy. And it comes in the perfect message for us. But on the outside, it might look like something different, right?
Yeah. Well, and especially I think as healers, we're kind of supposed to have it all figured out, or we're not supposed to get sick, or we're not supposed to have these kinds of experiences, because that even like came through when I thought I would have to go through chemo. And at a time that I was like willing and ready to be more visible and to step into my business and my purpose and my mission. And then I was going to have to do it bald and sick. I was like, I had to do a whole other layer of like releasing by looking at myself in the mirror with a hat on as though I was bald, and just said, are you still willing to show up even in this space?
Marlo, that's beautiful.
It was powerful. And I mean, it still brings tears to my eyes because of how potent that moment was. Because I knew at that time that I could make a decision and not be afraid that was going to be the experience. And then eventually, I mean, I got to a place where I chose not to do chemo, but it was not because I was going to lose my hair. I couldn't show up or anything else. It was a clean, conscious choice.
So juicy.
Yeah. So that's what I mean about non-resistance, like going to where is the fear and where can I be okay with that fear? And am I willing to still show up?
Yes. Yes. I remember, I think you were around in my community when I injured my shoulder.
Yeah.
And I remember having that same kind of shame of like, I'm writing on the flip chart like this, holding my arm up because I couldn't lift it. And I had the same inner dialogue of like, okay, this is ridiculous that but I felt, well, if I were walking my talk, I wouldn't have this, right? Because it brought healing to my soul, not my shoulder. I mean, I healed my shoulder, but it brought healing to my soul to go through this experience.
Yeah.
And when we have shame about that, then we can't lead.
Yeah.
We can't truly lead, right? Because if we're feeling like, oh, I can't have any issues and lead transformation, then we can't really lead.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Or even hold the space for the transformation for other people is what I witnessed.
Yeah. I love that you put on the hat, you looked in the mirror, and you got to this place where you knew, hey, my mission is more important than any of the details of this. And, that's always been true for me, is, even if I have the momentary ego show up, or maybe longer than momentary, that my commitment to serving my mission is greater than whatever that fear would be of what people think or how it's going to go, or even holding on tightly to like the way things are.
Right.
And that's what I hear in that. And I'm curious, what does that feel like for you? Because I think people will really relate to that, to know, like, I'm called to step up. Like, that is my commitment, and I will do it, period. Like, what was that internal moment like for you?
It was powerful. It was super powerful. There's a lot of freedom in that, and it just felt solid and aligned. Just that I had the capacity, like I trusted my own capacity to be able to show up.
Yes.
And to be able to move through whatever I needed to move through. And I got to choose how I was going to move through it too. And I am going to do it with peace, and I'm going to do it with magic. Like, those are the expectations around it. And so whatever comes up, it's like, I know I can do it, and I can move through it. And some things take me a little longer than others, but I'm willing to lean into the resistance and lean into the fear, lean into whatever is showing up, and still choosing how I'm going to be with it.
Yes. I love that. So you use the word clean.
Yes.
Right? Making a clean choice, a clean, conscious choice. And that a piece of being able to do that about your treatment, as an example, was being totally okay with whatever choice you knew in the moment you needed to make. Like, so can you talk more about what clean means to you?
Yeah. So I've had it several like pivotal times, and one was really making a decision about not, whether I was going to do chemo or not. But it's also like, it shows up in my business, like choosing to not have people do retreats here was a clean, conscious choice, where I leaned into all the fear and the reasons why not to do it. And I leaned into all the fears and reasons why to do, that are on either side. And so to where there is nothing left on either side of that decision that was being fueled by fear or resistance or anything, so that's where it becomes very clean and very clear, because there's no residue and there's no stickiness around it.
That really is very similar to the exercise in chapter 1 of Retreat and Grow Rich, the book.
Yeah.
You'll get it on Amazon. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yes, that's amazing. How does that leaning in to the fear, right? The reasons to do it and not to do it. How does that connect to this idea of really giving your emotions space? Because I know you have some tools you're going to share with people today around keeping their energy aligned and clean, and being able to move through emotions. So why is, for example, leaning through the fear, or whatever the emotion is, but a lot of times when we're making big decisions, it's fear. Why is that so important? Just to your energy field and cultivating that sacred space.
Yeah. Well, I mean, just from my own experience and what, with people that I've worked with, it's when we can actually be with the emotion where there's no judgment and there is actually no resistance to the emotion. There is that it actually gets to be seen. It actually gets to like come up to the surface and be released. But here's the real subtlety thing is that if we are with it to release it, we're resisting it still, so it's like we have to just be with it
With no agenda.
with no agenda and just giving it the space to do whatever it needs to do at its own timing. I remember it was soon after I did have a lumpectomy. So it was soon after my mom had left and I went running on the trail that she and I went on a walk with. And there were people coming towards me and I had all this stuff, just like fear, terror, resentment, regret, happiness, joy, like everything. Like I've never felt this intense energy before. It was everything. And it was coming to the surface and I'm like, oh no, I can't do this. There's people here and I'm out running. So I was like, notice I was stuffing it back down. And then I said, Marlo, you said you would never do that again. Let this come up and out. And so it's like, okay, I'm ready. And I just let it come up and I wailed in a way that I've never wailed before.
Wow.
And I cried and it lasted for maybe 10 seconds. And then I'm like, oh, okay. And then I went running again, and I just didn't care because it was all about, I was caring too much about what other people were thinking that I was wanting to push it down again. Right. And so to me, it's like anytime we are avoiding something or ignoring it, and I feel like, especially in the manifesting world, and I did this for many years, it's like, get to a higher vibration. And when we do that, it's oftentimes an avoidance or resistance to lower vibrations or the heavier energy. And it's only if we can allow all of it to exist with no judgment, like in your levels of energy that you've taught us, that the seventh layer where it all gets to be, it's all service and it's there and we can just be with it. And then it gives the space for it to do whatever it needs to do, which is oftentimes releasing. But again, we can't, if we come to it with the idea that I want this to go away, we've already resisted.
Right. I love that. It's very subtle the way we might do that, right? To say, let me let this come up so that it will be gone. Let me heal this so that, right? Let me get the lesson so that I can heal this so that I don't have to be embarrassed anymore.
Yeah.
Whenever there's that ulterior motive or.
Yeah. So that's just what I'm paying attention to with, and I'm getting better and better at it with everything. Cause, with big things in my face, it's kind of easier to do that, but it's the subtle ones or the things I've been living with a lot longer that I'm now spending more time with and saying, oh, is this decision, am I working out because I don't want to be X, Y, and Z? Or am I working out because I want to feel good in my body?
Yes.
So it's just as an interesting dance and flow that I'm playing in right now with all of that and teaching others how to see that for themselves. And oftentimes, like I created like this resistance game with some people I was working with, and they were telling their story, and I'm like, oh, so we're going to play where you tell me what you think you're resisting, and then I'll tell you what I think you're resisting. And it was just really fascinating pulling out things that they wouldn't have seen. Like one person felt like she was resisting prosperity, and I'm like, well, actually you're resisting survival because that's what you don't want to do. And we don't want to be with the thing we don't want. But until we are willing to be there with it controls us and behind the scenes. And then it's not our clear conscious choice. It's always done from a filtered energy.
Wow, that's beautiful. So you have some tools.
Yes.
For this. Can we play with that a little bit?
Yeah.
And I do want to let people know as we're recording this, I'm personally navigating, I have a funeral this week. My father-in-law passed. And so I'm excited to play along with whatever you've got for us as well.
Yeah. For anybody who's driving, you'll probably just visualize doing this and then
don't close your eyes.
Yeah, don't close your eyes and you keep your hands on the wheels because we're using your hands. And our hands can be like magnets. And so what I want to share with everybody are handholds that you can do to allow yourself to be with stress in a different way. And so when we are in stress, a lot of the brain gets removed from the front of our head. So we're going to call it back to the front so that we can actually be with whatever we're experiencing from a stronger, more solid.
Say more about that. So whenever we get stressed, let's think of an example. You said the energy moves from the front of our head.
Yeah, it will. So there's that reptilian, that older part of our brain that's in the back, that's more of in the survival mode. So everything just kind of gets pulled back there.
Is that the amygdala? That
I wish I was better well versed on the brain.
I'll Google it later.
Yeah. Oh, it just left me. I have a friend I'm co-leading a retreat with who does more of the neuroscience stuff. But yeah, there is that part of the brain in the back, and it's just when we are stressed, like the brain, our way of being able to be with it and to make decisions. The blood just isn't there anymore. So it's calling it back, but also being with the energies of what we're feeling so that they can do what they need to do. And so to begin with,
when it leaves and we go into survival, we're really not present to what we're feeling.
We're not present to what we're feeling. It's harder to make decisions from that clean, conscious space that we were just talking about. And we actually can just stay in that spin, that cortisol spin, and just being stressed out, when really we can be grounded, more present, more available.
The cortisol spin.
Yeah. I've been there.
Yeah. Well, I'm even thinking about, my morning, thinking of it, how did that feel when we had stress come up? And I won't go into all of the details, but we have some, people coming into town for the funeral, and like, what are we doing with them? Are we entertaining them? Are they on their own? And really looking at, and my wife and I, we have a commitment to being very intentional about how we go through things. But then when your emotions are triggered, it's a whole different ball game.
Yeah.
Right.
And you're surrounded by other people's emotions too. I mean, like Yes.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
So when we're
serve you.
Yes. Yes. So when we're stressed.
Yes. So there's these are based on the different elements in Chinese medicine too. So on the worksheet that people have, it'll be connected to that. But the first one that I want to share with you is winter, which is water element, which we're in right now. And it's if you're feeling a lot of fear. And so it's being with the fear and allowing the space for courage and for trust in yourself to actually show up. And so the first one is you're just placing your hand on your forehead. And even if this is all you do, this is actually bringing blood to the front of your head. So just having your hands here or your palm on your forehead is really healing. And you can do this in child's pose. You can do this in bed. But then you'll take your other hand for that fear piece and that ancient reptilian part of our brain. You'll just hold that just for a few breaths.
Does it matter which hand?
No, it doesn't. You can switch to, and there's different modalities that actually hold this. So what I love about the energy medicine practice that I have is that it brings in a lot of different techniques. Yeah. So there's this one for fear, and then anxiety, which I suffer with a lot, and that's in the top of your head, like the widest part of your head. So you keep your other one on your palm or on your forehead. And this is fire energy or summer. And this also is, when you're feeling anxious, you can just hold your hands here. And what this is doing is it's, letting it do what it needs to do and creating space for passion, inspiration, peace, and joy. And then the other one is metal. So you keep your hand on your forehead and take your other hand and put it on top of your head. And metal is the season of autumn, but the energy of grief. So this would be a really good one for you and Kimmy. And just lying in bed here with your hand on top of your head and your other hand on top of, or on your forehead. And each one of these has sounds too. So since you're going through some grief, just even doing all S's, like letting air out of a balloon while you're doing this is really helpful. Yeah, so it's just letting yourself be with it. And then there's anger, which is wood energy. So it's the heels of your hands kind of on the top of your cheekbones with your other fingers kind of draped over your forehead towards your hairline. And this is, when you're feeling angry, and this is just allowing yourself to be with it, letting it transmute into assertiveness, generosity, acceptance. And I have all this written down on the little.
Yes. So we're going to give you a URL where you'll be able to get images, especially if you're on the audio only version.
Yes.
You're thinking, what are they doing? We got you covered.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's just a matter of just kind of being with it and feeling it. Letting go
So
of
the wood is anger. And what season is that?
oh, that's spring.
Awesome.
Yeah. And then we have one more, which is earth energy. This is really big for healers. And it's one that I've had to spend a lot of time with because of this tendency to be over responsible for other people. And it also can come in the form of worry. But what it does is like brings in the balance into more compassion for yourself and to really honoring and filling yourself up first. So that is with the heels of your hands on the tops of your cheekbones underneath your eyes, and just covering your eyes with your fingers up towards your hairline. So this is bringing our over compassion that we have for other people and bringing it towards ourselves so that people can get our overflow and we're not being overly responsible. And earth is all the equinoxes and solstices. That's what it governs.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
So talk a little bit, if someone is experiencing anger, for example, this will help transmute that energy. And what tips do you have for being present with it? Or how do those things work together? In other words, we want to be in non-resistance to the feeling, right? And yet, so if you're going, I'm trying to remember the anger one. Was that the top of the head?
Anger was the side.
Anger. Oh yeah, like
yeah. I know some things are natural.
Like, yeah, it is natural. Like, yeah. And if I'm thinking anger, that probably isn't the correct thought. So can you talk a little bit about that? What to hold, or do you hold space?
I think it can be whatever. You can think about what you're angry about, for sure, and just let it be, voiced and seen and felt, and just, again, let it just all come up. Again, it's, I think, trusting you're safe and trusting that you have capacity to let this energy move through you. That's been a really big thing. And even thinking that anger tends to get this bad rap, like, oh, I shouldn't feel anger, or I don't want to feel anger. But it's like, can you be with the anger so then your actions maybe don't reflect the anger, or you're not just spewing it out and making it so other people are affected by your anger. So it's just kind of being with it. And so, yeah, you can think about what you're angry about, but you can also just breathe into it and just be with the feeling of the anger and just, be there for a few minutes until you feel like you can, move on or move through. I mean, basically it's moving through things.
And why are the hand movements so valuable?
So there are neurovascular points. There's 2 on our forehead, which is why, our hands here, why we're covering them in the anger one. So there's just different neurovascular points. And I was looking up in the books that I have on what is a neurovascular point, and it didn't explain that to me. So just know that that's what they are. And so there's like the 2 points on the top of your head, 2 points to the back of your head. And so that's why we're holding it with the palm, because you're covering those points. And there's even points here on your, where your collarbone comes together, that little soft place on your throat. Even just putting 2 fingers there calms the triple warmer. And the triple warmer is what activates your fight, flight, or freeze. So even just holding your fingers here can also just kind of calm the nervous system and calm that like survival thing that is actually overstimulated in our world right now.
That one's totally new to me. That feels amazing.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that one.
I've done, a variety of Donna Eden's morning routines and had things clear so quickly, but I've never heard this one.
Yeah. Yeah.
That'll be my new go-to.
Yeah. Nice.
So talk a little bit about like, what are some of the results that you've seen when people come to your space? Like you had the original vision to host retreats, right? Which you held really strongly and sacredly, even when the world is, kind of fighting for you to do it differently or, hustle or fill the rooms or whatever it may be. You've really held this vision and this sacred space. And so, and I know your first retreat was at a rental while you were still building your space. And so you really were concerned about how do I create that space there, but you were able to do that. What does that space give your clients? What's the value?
They're able to just be present and take deep breaths. Like they feel like they've come home. Even if they haven't been here before, their whole nervous system just kind of like calms down, and they're able to just be in a space of non-judgment. So whatever, they get to actually experience what that is, because they've probably never given that to them before. And they're just really held and nurtured, and they actually get to connect with other people who it's like they meet friends right away. Like they hug each other without having even met. Like there is something really special here. And, this might be like way out there, but there are fairies on our property. And so like there's magic here that happens. And so people are able to like tune into that energy here too. And one of the things that we're very intentional about, like I feel like the property asked us to move here, and we had our entire 5 acres crystal gridded before we moved here. And so we've created a vortex that people, like even people who don't come to a retreat or aren't even really aware, like they don't want to leave. So they're like, oh, I just feel so good here. So just the space in general does that for them. And that's one reason I wanted to live in that too. So this is just as much for me and for Dwayne as it is for everybody who comes for the retreat. Like that, to me, it's a lifestyle that I've wanted.
Yes. And the more people that model that lifestyle, whatever is aligned for you, it might not be aligned for everybody, but, being connected to nature, being connected to truth, that's how I think of it. The more people who choose that, the bigger impact we have on the rest of society, right? Where people can go, oh, wait, that's possible?
Yeah.
Oh, you mean I could opt out of this concern about what everybody thinks? Or
Yeah, it's true. And when like the people who come here, they leave lighter and brighter, and they're more playful. Like there's just this, we've done some really deep work, but it's not from a heavy place.
Right.
And so it's like they can go into the world and just be like more of that. And that lights me up.
Yes, that energy translates, right?
Yeah.
And I think people can even feel it in this conversation, and we have your sparkles in the background and your nature out the window. Like, it transfers. And what would you say to someone who knows that type of energy and magic as part of their gifting, but they're not really sure, like, can I really do something with that?
You know, I think for me, I needed to be seen. I needed someone else to actually tell me that was of value, because I kept knowing that I wanted that, but I'm like, who wants peace? You know, are they willing to pay for peace?
Yes.
You know, are people willing? I even had an event that I went to where somebody said, well, you can't sell magic, you know, and I'm like, well, yes, I can. I mean, because I'm talking about magic. I'm like, it's not just this like fun, playful word. It's like, I mean that.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like knowing that all of those things are just to like really own it more. I mean, you say it beautifully in your book, and it's just really allowing yourself to own it and let yourself be seen. You know, the more that I'm willing to be this in the world, the more people are showing up. And
because everyone secretly wants magic.
Yeah.
Because they know they need their soul to be whole.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, with my work with you and my work with Lisa Berkovitz, and even at her retreat that I went to, it was probably the most pivotal time where I really felt seen. Because before, I felt like peace was just this background kind of energy that was nice, and people would, you know, enjoy it, but they wouldn't really even know that it's happening, because it can be really subtle and very gentle. And I was at a dance, we were doing dancing, and everyone was joyful and very like exuberant and big energy. And I'm like, oh, here's me with my soft, gentle energy. And it was supposed to be at the end dancing, and I got skipped over. And I had to sit with like, do I say something? Actually, I'm okay with not being seen, you know, like all that. And then somebody pointed out, like, did you go? And I said, no. I'm like, I see you, and we need your peaceful magic medicine here. And it's kind of like the Shavasana at the end of a yoga class, but it tends to be the one thing that gets left out of yoga or shortened. So I saw all these areas in our life where peace wasn't being honored. But then when it was, I was able to step into it more firmly and more solidly. Yeah.
Amazing. That is such a beautiful example to close with for retreat leaders. First of all, we need to give ourselves the experience of attending retreats, so we have that opportunity. And it also speaks to the magic that happens at retreat, that you happened to be with this particular group, that there was this big energy and yours was a contrast, and that it was needed. Like spirit conspired for that experience.
Yeah, it was perfectly laid out. I totally got the message loud and clear.
I love it. And if someone is listening and they're thinking, well, I can't do my retreat until it's all perfect, or until I'm perfect, or I've got it all sorted, you're stopping that magic. Because it's not all about you, right? Someone might come and the person sitting next to them is the person they need to meet. I mean, you met Lisa Berkovitz at my retreat. Like when I see you guys together, I'm like, oh, there's magic. Get out of the way. Let it happen.
Yeah. And I have to say, it's such a beautiful thing to lead a retreat from that energy, because you let the magic needs space. You know, just like,
and non-resistance.
We
create like holding it so tightly.
Yeah. So I just love that, like, one of the things you shared from the very beginning is let there be less is more, and really allow the space to be there and retreat, and, you know, give people an experience. And
that's beautiful.
It does create magic naturally.
So we'll have to circle back to your magic you've created with Dwayne. And, you know, Kimmy and I have toyed around with doing a series on being couples in business. So perhaps we'll have you back on to talk about that, because that's a whole other realm.
It is.
But I feel like we shared the perfect magic for today.
Beautiful. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And for those listening, Marlo's website is MarloNikkila.com. And if you go to that site and add /peaceful magic gift, so perfect, you'll actually get a download of visuals of the postures that we talked about and more detail about how they actually work to clear energy, to help you be with the energy that is with non-resistance and clear that out of the way so that you can hold that sacred space for your clients. Awesome.
Yeah. Yes,
Thank you so much for sharing your energy with us today, Marlo. And it's just delights me to no end to see you shine. So thank you.
Darla. Well, I owe a lot of this to you and just the space that you're holding and have held for me and all of us who are stepping into doing this powerful, potent, necessary work. Yeah.
You're welcome. Okay, Love Fest.
Yes.
Thank you everyone for watching, and we'll see you on the next episode. Bye, Marlo.
Bye, everybody. Bye.
Have you been called to integrate transformational retreats into the way you work with your clients? Do you want to be known as a masterful leader of experiences that permanently shift your clients' mindset and energy so their results with you quantum leap? Would you like to receive great money for those magical and unique parts of you that you've likely been sneaking into your work for free because you're not sure how to market them? We're now taking applications for March in the Beautifully Aligned Retreat Leader Collective. Spots are limited in this 12-month container of support for your business vision. You will rock the front of the room with the latest techniques and skills and have the inside scoop on venues and creating amazing experiences. You'll learn to streamline your business model and marketing so you aren't always in search of your next client. And you'll connect at a heart level to others on this journey who speak your language and uplift your work in their communities. Visit alignedentrepreneurs.com/collective and apply today.